Back. Cowboys fall to 1-2 as the Ravens run over and through the Dallas defense. Tempers and frustrations flared. Here's Micah postgame.
Right now, we got people just trying to be Superman. People just got to own their jobs, bro. We don't need everyone to be Superman. We don't need no Supermans at all. We just need 11 guys playing together. Everyone's in the locker room saying we're going to do what we got to do, and everyone's going to be accountable. Then when you come out, we're just like, how are we getting gas? We're not being accountable. We're not set right. I need to get these guys behind me to trust me first. Like, I don't want to make those plays by myself because they're just going to slow them down, right? So I need everyone to do that, right? Not just me. So I don't feel like I should be telling another grown man to consistently be accountable. At some point, they got to take them within themselves. So every day within ourselves, we got to say, did we get better? Did I get better today?
Okay, a lot there to unpack. Brew, your reaction and eventually a grade, if you could.
You want the grade. All right, let me react to Micah. First of all, he said I shouldn't be telling grown men to be accountable, but he spent the whole 5 minutes of his presser holding grown men accountable. Nick, I didn't see, and I watched the whole thing, I didn't see him once. He mentioned I a couple times, but it was in a different context, I felt. I didn't see him once say, I got to do this. I have to be better. I have to look in the mirror. So I don't think that's going to sit well in the locker room because he should have taken some more accountability. I think it's poor leadership and it's a lack of accountability by the best player. Secondly, you're Superman, Micah. You're supposed to be Superman.
Correct.
When you start negotiating your contract, or you probably already did this offseason trying, you're not going to be like, hey, I'm just one of 11 doing my role. Let me do my part. You're going to be like, I'm Superman. And he is supposed to be a game wrecker a la T.J. Watt, a la Myles Garrett. All right, we see a la Max Crosby, other guys wrecking games. All
Trey
right?
Hendrickson, a lot of the best edge rushers this year have wrecked at least one, if not two games or a game and a half.
Yep.
Mike is yet to do it.
He hasn't wrecked anything. In fact, and this is related to my grade, let's look at this graphic of Micah's lack of production. You see, the previous 3 years of his career, he's essentially in the top 10 every year in sacks and tackles for losses. In 2022, he dropped a little.
Yeah.
This year, one of each. And look at that. 119 guys have more tackles for losses than Micah. 59 guys have more sacks. And I'm going to get those one sack, one tackle for loss. That was in the first game.
Week 1
so
against
last
Cleveland.
2 weeks, he has yet to have a sack or tackle for loss. So
the team that everyone said Cleveland is so good, and they just lost to the Giants, who, as I said before, we know the Dallas Cowboys don't think the Giants are good. So maybe the Cleveland Browns aren't really that good either. Interesting.
I need Micah to be Superman. So he's had a drop-off. That's a hint. Drop off.
What's that?
All right, second thing.
Get it?
Jerry Jones.
I don't.
Jerry Jones, and I'm not going to jump on you, Nick, but you don't think the running backs are important. I do.
We're going to get.
And neither does Jerry Jones.
That's
You know, you're doing the whole show.
Well, let me just say, Derrick Henry ran for 151, and he wanted to be a Cowboy, and y'all didn't want him. So Derrick.
Now I'm getting
Derrick.
it. Oh,
It gets a
drop
little
off.
slow.
Derrick.
Drop off.
Oh, so now.
And look, let me say this. It was hard because for 3 quarters they looked like a clear F. And then they obviously rallied, had a chance to win.
Could have won.
But I put more of that on the Ravens' complacency and just utter foolishness than the Cowboys' ability. So D for drop off of Micah and D for Derrick Henry, who should be a Dallas Cowboy.
Wow. All right. Well done across the board.
Dak escapes on that.
Yeah, I was going to say Dak.
Dak, yeah, you're right. He definitely escaped.
Maybe would have.
I didn't want to pile on.
Drop off, but that's fine. So the grade's totally fair. I think on this show, I'm the one person who most often defends Micah. I think it's not like anybody really attacks his play prior to this, but I think the podcast people have a bigger issue with than I do. Sure. Some of the comments. I thought this post-game press conference was indefensible given lining up with what he did, what he said with how he played. So before we roll the tape, I just want to make some clear. What he is, I think, describing there repeatedly is guys not playing kind of almost nerdy football ease, not playing your gaps, not playing your assignment, and then you try to do too much, and then the guy goes where you were supposed to be. You're out of position. And granted, I'm not in Mike Zimmer's meetings, but I watched the beginning of this game. And on the first play of the game for Baltimore's offense and the last play of that first drive for Baltimore's offense, to me there was one Dallas Cowboy who was clearly trying to be Superman and screwing it up. And we can show it to you. Watch the bottom of your screen, watch 11, Micah, and watch where he goes and where Lamar goes. Oh, wait, that was the guy who's supposed to hold contain, I think. What about on the touchdown? Watch Micah, where he goes. That's... Now, again, I'm not in the meetings, but typically it's that edge guy's job to keep contain on the zone read, particularly against Lamar Jackson. And from the very beginning of the game so to me, that's what made the comment so galling, was at the very least, you were part of the problem you're talking about, if not the primary piece of it. And the other one is what Bruce said. We're going to talk more big picture about the Cowboys throughout the show. But it would appear right now, I personally way overvalued one part of their team. I might have undervalued the importance of the running back, which we'll get to. But I thought they would have an excellent defense because they consistently have an excellent defense. And while they lost a lot of pieces on offense over the offseason, they didn't lose as many on defense. And so I'm like, okay, well, Micah's entering his prime. They're getting Diggs
lost
back.
the big coordinator,
they still have DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, they spent some mid-round draft picks on these guys. I think Zimmer's good. You know, I don't think he's a big drop-off from Dan Quinn. I think from defensive coordinating, he might be better. We'll see. And this defense is a laughingstock right now.
Yeah.
Giving up 5.
How can you say that that's not a big drop-off, Dan Quinn? I mean, put some respect on what Dan Quinn did with that team defensively. Not to mention, so much of the hype around the Cowboys defense is shutting down bad teams. Please name the great team that they shut down, okay? Because it doesn't happen. They don't shut down the great teams. That defense doesn't step up against the great teams. They get gashed. That's what has consistently happened. So if you keep feasting on the bad teams and not being great against the good teams, that does not make you great. That does not make you top. And again, this game is another perfect example of that, where Dak Prescott gets some of these numbers, and you're going to be like, well, he's leading the NFL in yards and stuff like that, when he's been playing bad. He's been playing bad football. He did not have a good first game. He did not have a good second game. He did not have a good third game. He just didn't. Yet he got yards. He got some stats. Tom Brady throughout the whole time was like, this is not a good throw. This is a D throw. This is a C throw. Dak Prescott easily could have had multiple turnovers, but got really lucky that they weren't intercepted. I mean, really, Tom Brady was struggling to say like positive things. He was trying to coach him essentially. He was like, Dak, I know you're trying to get back in this game, but you can't make that throw. You can't get it all back one right now. You got to keep your composure. He was like trying to like will Dak to do it. But by doing so, he was pretty much just putting out all of the opposite things that Dak should be doing. So Dak Prescott deserves a ton of blame around this as well. But also just the Cowboys as a whole. I tried to tell you guys this. And you guys just were so upset about it. And I understand. It's your team. I do. And you think that I'm trolling you or you think that I'm a hater. And I'm not. If the Dallas Cowboys were balling out, they're 3-0 right now playing great, I would say Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys are rolling. They got a great team. I think they're a top team in the NFL. I would be saying that. I really would be. Because I want to be right, not wrong, honestly. I'm not the person who's just going to keep double downing on the wrong take. I'm just not. I change my opinion all the time. I will go in there with a mindset of what I'm going to say. I'll hear something that they say, and I'll be like, oh, you know what? Actually, that's a great point. And change my mind on the fly. I do it all the time. But I tried to say the Cowboys are not that good of a team. I said, they beat the Browns. Let's stop pretending like the Browns are this great team. And then when I looked up and did my own deeper research, which I'm mad I didn't, I was like, well, you know, the defense is a pretty good defense, but not as good as they think. look what they gave up in last season. Like, yeah, it's a competent defense, but not great. And that offense is obviously nothing to write home about. And the Cowboys didn't really look good in that game. But yeah, they won, and some of the numbers and some of the plays, but I realized what I'm going to start calling this now is an advanced eye test. We have advanced analytics. I call it advanced eye test. I was like, no, this didn't really look that good. And again, they beat the Browns, a team that is not good, according to Nick Wright, a bottom team. And then the Giants beat the Browns, really confirming that. And then they got steamrolled, dominated by the Saints. And a lot of Cowboys fans said, yeah, well, guess what the Saints are going to do to the Eagles? They lost to the Eagles. That high-powered offense that demolished and decimated the defense that everyone said that the Eagles is so bad, stopped the Saints. Made them uncomfortable the whole game. I'm not telling you that the Cowboys are trash. I'm not. I think the Saints is a tough game, and the Ravens is a tough game. But the Ravens own this game. The score 25-28 in the box score. Any actual person who watched the game knows that this was not a close game. Anyone knows that. Okay? The Ravens owned the Cowboys. It wasn't even close. If the Ravens ended up losing that game, I mean, that would have been just like the biggest disaster ever, quite frankly. You have a great field goal kicker. 65-yarder, that's a superpower, man. Seriously, that's a superpower. And every team should be jealous and envious that they don't have them. Right? And I said this in my last clip with for the herd. You had the fumble in the red zone with CeeDee Lamb. I defend that, honestly. It was an unfortunate situation to happen. Unfortunate timing. You can blame CD, say he needs to take care of the ball better. I think he was a millisecond away from having stronger, protecting that ball a little bit more. It was just one of those things, how the pass took him where he had the ball. He wasn't just being loose with the ball. So I just think that's just one of those, like, right? And quite frankly, if the Ravens ended up winning and that ended up being a big key difference maker, this is what I refer to advanced analytics. I go, yeah, that was a good play by the Ravens, but also, slightly fluky, slightly out of character, right? Like I'm like, I don't know. I give that game more of a 50-50 now rather than, yeah, the Cowboys blew it or yeah, the Ravens won it, like it's just, that's a great example of that. Another great example is the fact that Dak Prescott should have had a safety. Like they were like kind of stunned, like why is he not having a safety right now? Right? Like, so that there was confusion about all of that. But make no mistake about it, this game was never the Cowboys never showed to be good enough to stand with the Ravens. They just didn't. And the fact that Derrick Henry did run all day is a perfect example. First off, he trains in Dallas. He trains in Texas, right? Like he works at the rehab center. They even showed it on the broadcast. He wanted to be a Cowboy. You don't think that would be better? They didn't want Saquon Barkley. They didn't reach out to Saquon or Derrick Henry. Saquon is dominating. He's like the best back right now in the NFL. Just absolutely crucial. And Derrick Henry is now playing great with the Ravens. You don't think the Cowboys would be better with either of those backs? Come on. Of course they would be. I consistently said the Cowboys did not get better, and yet you're expecting them to be better. So Nick is trying to say, I overrated their defense. And it's like, yeah, you did. You overrated this team as a whole. Offensively, defensively. The Cowboys are not a great team. Are they a good team this year? Yeah. I think they're a good team. They're not a trash team. I think there's still probably a great chance that they split with the Eagles, right? Because Dak Prescott still has the potential to go off. But a truly great team, when the Cowboys face a truly great team, a team that's well coached, well executed, humming along, they're just clearly not in that league. We've seen it now for the last 2 years, without a doubt. We've seen it. We've seen it versus the 49ers. We've seen it versus the Packers. We've seen it. We've seen it against the Ravens. The list just adds up. Any of those teams that really can execute and minimize their own mistakes, the Cowboys, they look like they're just not even remotely on that level. It's not any more complicated than that. And like I said in my the Herd video, I'm genuinely asking Cowboys fans. I'm genuinely asking. I'm not a hater. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a troll. I'm genuinely asking you guys. Why do you make such excuses for this? Why do you take such pride in just winning 12 games in the regular season, but clearly not being good enough to do anything more? I'm asking you, because you always call out the Eagles fans, which I understand, right? The big rivalry, I get it. But the Eagles fans hold their team accountable. They make excuses too, like every fan base does. But if this game happened, they wouldn't have said, well, it's a comeback. Dak played great. What are you going to do? They wouldn't have said that. They would say, fire the coach, get a new quarterback, get rid of Micah, right? Like they would say, like, make moves. What are you doing? It's unacceptable. Sirianni, if he doesn't get to a Super Bowl, he's fired.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No. He gets fired. I said the name that makes my phone talk. I have to call him Nick now. Right? McCarthy, Dak, people are already talking about do the Eagles move on from Jalen? Yeah, Dak, they just keep giving him money and money and money. Mike McCarthy, they're like, yeah, let's run it back. Let's see what happens. Ezekiel Elliott, yeah, let's go. Let's get Zeke back. The Eagles went out and they're like, nope, let's get AJ. Let's get Saquon. Let's upgrade at offensive coordinator. Let's upgrade a defensive coordinator. Like, they're actually making moves. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. They're at least making moves. They're making moves that obviously have helped them. The defensive coordinator has helped them. The offensive coordinator has helped them. Getting Saquon has helped them. Obviously, getting AJ a couple years has helped them. What are the Cowboys fundamentally doing? What did they do to make the job easier for Dak Prescott? Tell me, what did they do? The answer is nothing. They got Dak a friend in the locker room, Ezekiel Elliott, which is not nothing. I take that back. It's not nothing. But they easily could have had Saquon and Zeke. That's a heck of a 1-2 punch to also take some mileage off Saquon for some of these tough 1-2 yard gains that maybe you need. They could have got Derrick Henry. He wanted to be with Dallas. He wanted to play for Dallas. And you still could have gotten Zeke for like nothing. And that they would have gotten along. I'm sure Zeke and Saquon and Zeke and Derrick Henry, they would have been getting along. Zeke gets some of the burden taken off him. He gets to be that locker room presence. He's a fun, positive, great locker room guy. Gets to be a leader. Gets to be someone for Dak in his corner. But not all the pressure now of like you gotta be something more than what you are at this point in your career. That's now when you start to lose that locker room presence. When you're relied on too heavily and you can't perform, it's kind of like, yeah, man, a lot of the things you say just fall on deaf ears. So the Cowboys could have made concrete decisions to be a better team this year. They simply chose not to. And I'm just curious, Cowboys fans, are you okay with it? Do you see the reality of the situation? Or do you still believe that the Cowboys have a true chance at getting to the NFC Championship game, winning, getting to a Super Bowl, and winning a Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.